The deal on death's edge. The war had ended, but the battlefield still smoked. Broken tanks, shattered armor, and burned flags lay in the dirt like forgotten memories. The wind whispered through the silence, carrying the scent of blood and ash. Among the ruins, a young human soldier crawled. His name was Ethan Cole. His leg was broken, his uniform torn. One arm clutched his stomach where shrapnel had sliced deep. He was losing blood fast. His helmet was gone, face dirty, lips dry. Around him, no allies, no medics, no hope. This is how it ends, he whispered to himself, smiling bitterly. Alone. Suddenly, the ground shook. A strange humming filled the air. Ethan looked up, eyes squinting at the sky. From above, a massive alien ship descended, black and silver, shaped like a floating crown. It moved slowly, with power and elegance. Ethan had seen ships like this before. They belonged to the Zarenth Empire, a race of powerful telepathic beings, rulers of 10 galaxies, the enemies of Earth. He reached for his broken rifle but dropped it. He was too weak. The ship landed without a sound. A ramp extended. Dozens of tall armored aliens marched out, forming a line. And from behind them, she appeared. Queen Jariah. She was over 8 feet tall, glowing faintly, her body wrapped in black crystal armor. Her eyes were silver like moonlight, her hair floating as if underwater. She didn't walk, she glided. Her presence was cold, royal, untouchable. Ethan's heart pounded. He tried to crawl away, but the queen raised her hand, and the guards stepped back. She walked alone toward the dying soldier. Her voice echoed in his mind, calm, deep and emotionless. Ethan Cole, you saved something precious to me. You don't know it yet, but you did. Ethan coughed. What? Weeks ago you led your unit into a canyon near Sector 9. There you destroyed a Zarenth drone base, but what you didn't see, hidden deep below, was my heir, a child, kidnapped by rebels. Your attack gave me a chance to rescue them. She stopped a few feet away from him. I owe you a life debt. My empire does not ignore such things. So, I offer you one wish. Anything. It will be granted. You have 10 seconds to choose. Ethan blinked. Was this a joke? A trick? He looked into her strange, glowing eyes. 10 seconds. He thought of asking for survival, riches, to go home. But then he remembered home. A dead father, a distant mother. No one waiting for him. War was all he had now. He looked again at the queen. Cold, beautiful, lonely. No one spoke to her like a person. No one dared. Ethan laughed weakly. I want you. The queen froze. Her guards looked up, shocked. She tilted her head, confused. Explain. I want you. Not as a prize. Not as a queen. I just want to know you. You hide behind power. Behind all this armor. I saw at the moment you walked out that you're just as alone as I am. A long silence followed. Then something impossible happened. The queen laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was soft, like wind chimes in the dark. You are either brave or foolish. Ethan smiled. Both, probably. She stared at him for a long time. Then she reached out with her hand. Light flowed from her fingers into his body. His wounds stopped bleeding. The pain faded. Bones realigned. He could breathe again. But not fully healed. Just enough to walk. You will come with me, Ethan Cole, she said, and I will honor your wish. But you may regret this choice. Knowing me has a cost. She turned and walked back toward her ship. Ethan, still stunned, slowly stood and limped after her. His body was weak, but his mind burned with questions. As he stepped onto the ship's ramp, he looked back one last time at the battlefield. So much death. But now, something new had begun. And far above, in the dark of space, the stars whispered to each other, "The Queen has been chosen." The forbidden bond. The door of the alien ship closed behind him with a soft hiss. Silence followed. Ethan stood in a vast chamber made of glowing crystal. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, alive and watching. The air was warmer than he expected. Still, his legs trembled, not from fear but from the overwhelming feeling that he had stepped into something much bigger than himself. Queen Jariah stood ahead, her back to him. She was facing a large screen showing stars moving past. Neither of them spoke, until she broke the silence. "Do you know what you've done?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "I asked for the truth, that's all." "You are the truth I wanted." The Queen turned to him. Her expression was unreadable. "No one in 10,000 cycles has dared to ask for me. Not riches, not technology, not immortality. Me." Ethan shrugged. Maybe they were cowards, or maybe they thought you'd say no. Her eyes flashed. "You asked. I said yes. That is why we're both cursed now." Before Ethan could respond, the ship's lights dimmed and a strange hologram appeared beside him. It showed two figures, one human, one Zarenth. A glowing thread connected their hearts. "This is the bond," she explained. "By accepting your wish, a link was formed. Emotional, energetic, telepathic, dangerous." Ethan looked at the thread. "What does it mean?" "If I die, you die. If you suffer, I feel it. And if you betray me, I will know it before your lips speak." He took a breath. "And if I protect you," her voice softened slightly, "then I will protect you in return." Ethan smiled. "Sounds fair." She blinked, confused, maybe even impressed. Then came a loud knock on the chamber door. "My queen," said a voice from outside, "the council demands explanation. This human is under my protection," she snapped. "No one touches him." The voice fell silent. She turned back to Ethan. "Come. They want to see you, and they will hate you." They entered the Star Council Hall, a circular chamber filled with high-ranking Zarenth nobles. All of them had glowing eyes and sharp armor. They sat around a floating platform where Ethan was now brought to stand. One of the elders stood up. "This is unacceptable," he barked. "Humans are primitive. He is not worthy of the bond." Another one joined in. "This makes us look weak before the other empires. The Queen has made a personal decision. That is a crime." Ethan stayed calm. He had heard worse insults in military barracks. Queen Jariah stood by his side. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't fight back with power. She simply said, "He gave me something I forgot existed. Choice. I chose him." A wave of whispers erupted across the hall. Ethan spoke next, loud and clear. "I didn't come to break your rules. I didn't ask for your technology. I asked to know the woman behind the crown, and whether you like it or not." That woman said yes. The council fell silent. Elder Vorth, the coldest among them, stared into Ethan's eyes. "You will regret this, human. The Queen's heart is a fortress, and now you are trapped inside it." Later that night, Ethan stood alone in a chamber given to him. It was elegant, like a palace, but felt cold, empty. He sat by the large glass window, watching stars pass by. His reflection stared back. Just then, the door slid open. Queen Jariah stepped in silently. No armor, just a long robe of silver light. "You stood by me today," she said. Ethan didn't turn. "I told you, I chose you, not your army, not Tiu, your empire." She slowly sat across from him. For a moment, she looked like someone completely different. Not a queen, not a ruler, just a woman burdened by too many expectations. "They will come for you," she whispered, "and I may not always be able to protect you." Ethan met her gaze, then let them come. She blinked. A soft emotion passed over her face. Something rare. Was it fear? Was it care? In all my life, no one has ever wanted me for who I am behind this crown. If you continue down this path, Ethan, your heart may not survive it." He smiled gently. "Then we'll break each other open. Together." Far above them, deep within the stars, something ancient stirred. The bond had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Courts of shadows and whispers. Inside the floating city of Zaranth Prime, where the skies were glass and the gravity hummed like a heartbeat, Ethan Cole walked through a world that didn't want him. Every hallway he entered, the whispers followed. The human? She brought him here? He'll destroy her. Even the walls seemed to judge him, made of glowing black stone that shimmered when he passed. The palace was alive in ways no earth building ever could be, and yet it felt colder than death. The queen remained distant. Since the council meeting, she hadn't spoken to Ethan alone again. Guards escorted him. Servants avoided him. He wasn't a prisoner, but he wasn't welcome either. One morning, a servant finally spoke. A girl with soft blue skin and a metallic neckband placed food on Ethan's table. She leaned closer and whispered, "You must leave." Before the night of whispers. Ethan sat up. "What's that?" "It's when they test outsiders, in the shadows, without laws." Before he could ask more, she disappeared. Later that day, 2 armored nobles approached him in a courtyard. No guards, no queen. "Ethan Cole," one said, smiling coldly. "The queen's pet." Ethan didn't respond. "You dishonor our kind. You walk freely while warriors of Zaranth die in war. You, a soft-fleshed animal?" Ethan clenched his fists. "We offer you a choice," the noble said. "Face our traditional trial, or leave the city as a coward." Ethan stared at him, calm. "What kind of trial?" They grinned. That night, under twin moons, Ethan was brought to the Hall of Whispers, an underground chamber shaped like a black spiral. No audience, no queen, just stone, shadows, and silence. A single sword was placed before him. The noble from earlier stepped forward, armed and armored. "Survive 5 minutes. That is all." Ethan didn't smile. He picked up the sword. The duel began. He wasn't stronger. He wasn't faster. But Ethan fought like a man with nothing left to lose. He dodged. He bled. He fell. But every time he hit the floor, he stood again. 4 minutes passed. His arm was cut. His side bruised. His breathing heavy. Then, crack, the noble struck his leg and Ethan dropped hard. The blade was at his throat, but just before the final blow came, "Enough!" The queen's voice filled the chamber. Everyone froze. She stepped from the shadows. No armor, just flowing robes. Her eyes glowed like stars. "You test him in the dark, because you know in the light he would shame you." The noble growled. "He is weak." "Then why are you bleeding?" she replied. Everyone looked down. The noble's side had a shallow cut, one he hadn't noticed. From Ethan. She walked to Ethan, knelt beside him, and placed her hand on his chest. "You were right," she whispered. "Everyone looks at me like a weapon, but not you." He coughed. "Took you long enough to notice." She smiled. Barely. Later, in her private chamber, she tended to his wounds. Her touch was steady. Cold hands, warm heart. "They will not stop," she said. "Even with my orders, they will try again." Ethan looked at her. "Then why keep me here?" She didn't answer right away. "When I was a child," she said softly, "I was trained to never feel. I watched my sister cry during a public ceremony. She was exiled for showing weakness. I became queen not because I was chosen, but because I buried every part of myself that felt human." Ethan didn't interrupt, just listened. "And then you asked for me, not the empire, not wealth, just me. That woke something dangerous inside me." Ethan reached for her hand. "Maybe danger is exactly what you need." She didn't pull away. Outside her chamber in the dark halls of the palace, Elder Vorth watched silently from a viewing orb. He turned to a shadowy figure beside him. Begin the purge. If the queen will not kill the human, we will. Somewhere far away in the oldest sector of Zarinth space, a dormant AI stirred. The bond had triggered an ancient protocol, one written in code and prophecy. A new ruler was coming, one not just of Zarinth, but of both stars and Earth. When she chose to trust, a red sun rose over the edge of Thal 7, a wild moon covered in glowing forests and endless mist. Giant tree-like towers reached for the skies, their crystal branches humming softly in the breeze. The sky shimmered violet. It was beautiful, untouched. But for Ethan Cole, it was a prison made of paradise. He limped through the underbrush, pushing away glowing vines. His uniform was torn. His wounds hadn't fully healed from the trial. Behind him, the queen walked in silence, her royal robes replaced by traveler's gear, sleek armor fused with soft cloth. No crown, no guards, just her. They had fled the capital ship 3 days ago. The assassination plot had been clear. Ethan was no longer just a risk to the throne. He was a target, and the queen had done the unthinkable, abandoned her empire to save him. She said nothing as they walked. Her face stayed calm, her mind unreadable. But Ethan could feel it, the bond between them pulsing stronger than before. She could feel his hunger, his fatigue, his fear, and he could feel her guilt. He collapsed near a stream. His hands trembled as he dipped them into the water. "We can't survive out here long," he muttered. The queen knelt beside him, her voice low. "This place hides us. The planet's energy confuses all tracking systems. They won't find us here." Ethan looked at her. "But will you find yourself here?" She blinked. That question, unexpected, heavy, hung in the air. By nightfall, they had built a fire. Jiraiya watched it dance. Her armor was folded beside her. For the first time, Ethan saw her without any royal image. No glowing robes, no power, just her, a woman with ancient eyes and a quiet sadness. "Tell me about Earth," she said suddenly. Ethan smiled faintly. "It's noisy, messy, beautiful. In stupid ways. We don't have flying cities or brain-linked systems, but we've got sunsets, music, jokes that don't make sense, and people who cry at weddings." She tilted her head. "You miss it?" "I miss the version of me that existed there, before the war, before I became this." Jiraiya looked at him, long and deep. "On Zarinth, we are trained to kill that version of ourselves. Weakness is not allowed." Ethan shook his head. "That's not weakness. That's being alive." A soft wind passed between them. Later that night, Jiraiya wandered off alone. Ethan followed quietly, not to spy but to make sure she was safe. He found her by a glowing lake. Staring into the water, she was crying, but her tears floated upward, soft silver orbs drifting into the night sky like tiny stars. He stepped closer. She didn't turn. "You shouldn't see this," she whispered. "Then stop hiding from me," he replied gently. "Let me see who you really are." She finally looked at him. "I don't know who I am anymore." Ethan sat beside her. "Then let's find out together." In the following days, the queen began to change. She laughed once, a real laugh, when Ethan fell into a mud pit while chasing glowing birds. She helped him build a shelter, learned how to trap food, and even asked him how to cook human style. They moved through the jungle like shadows, surviving, healing, talking, sometimes in silence, sometimes through the bond. And every night before sleeping, Ethan would look up at the stars and whisper, "Still worth it." She'd pretend not to hear, but she always smiled when he said it. On the 7th night, something changed. They sat around the fire again. This time, side by side. No guards, no armor, no duty, just a man and a woman. "Why did you really say yes to my wish?" Ethan asked softly. She hesitated, then spoke, her voice barely a breath. Because I wanted someone to choose me, without fear, without politics, without lies. Ethan looked at her, really looked, not as a queen, not as an alien, but as a soul trapped behind centuries of walls. He reached out. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. The bond pulsed. For the first time, not with tension, but warmth. Far above, in a distant system, the royal guards searched endless, data logs trying to locate the queen. They found nothing, because she was no longer the queen they once knew. She was someone new now, reborn in the glow of a fire, next to a soldier who saw her not as royalty, but as a person worth loving. The trial of the twin suns. The heat was unbearable. 2 suns blazed overhead, twin flames roasting the red stone arena below. No shadows, no mercy. Ethan Cole stood shirtless, sweat dripping, his hands shackled in front of him with alien cuffs that burned cold against his skin. Across from him, a towering beast, part machine, part predator, growled through metal jaws. Its eyes glowed blue. Its claws scraped the dirt, ready to kill. And above them all, in the floating observation chamber, Queen Zariah watched, silent, still, broken. This was the trial of the twin suns, an ancient Zaranth tradition. It wasn't a punishment, it was a test, one of pain, honor, and truth. And it was her idea. 3 days earlier, their peace on Thal 7 was shattered. A group of loyalist Zaranth warriors found them, demanding the queen return to her throne. If you will not rule with strength, you are unfit to rule at all, said Elder Vorth's envoy. Let the bonded human prove himself. Let him survive our sacred trial. Zariah had refused. But Ethan, he stepped forward. Let me fight, he said, not for their respect, for yours. You'll die, she warned, her voice trembling. They will send monsters, machines, weapons. I don't care, he replied. I won't let them call you weak, because you loved someone like me. And now, here he stood, facing death for her. A horn sounded. The beast roared and charged. Ethan barely dodged, rolling across the scorching ground. Dust flew. Pain shot through his shoulder. He didn't have armor, enhancements, or alien powers. All he had was will. The first hit landed hard, claws raking his back. He staggered but stayed standing. He grabbed a loose rock and smashed it into the creature's side. It barely flinched. The crowd above murmured in amusement. He's only human. This is a joke. But Zariah didn't laugh. She couldn't. Her heart, connected to Ethan's, ached with every blow he took, every gasp, every drop of blood. She had tried to hide it, to suppress the bond, but it refused to be silenced. Her guards watched her carefully. Any sign of emotion would be weakness. And yet, her hands were shaking. Below, Ethan's body was failing. His vision blurred. His leg gave out. He collapsed. The beast stood over him, claws raised. It could end him right now. But he whispered, I chose you, Zariah. I won't die without showing them why. With a final surge, Ethan rolled, grabbed a shard of the arena's edge and stabbed it into the beast's eye. The creature screamed and stumbled. Ethan climbed onto its back, slamming the shard again and again until the machine parts sparked, and the beast finally fell with a metallic groan. Silence. Then the arena announcer's voice echoed, Trial. Passed. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't know what to feel. But in the queen's heart, something had already broken. She descended into the arena herself, stepping past the guards, her robes dragging through dust, her hands trembling. Ethan lay, on the ground, bleeding, barely breathing. She knelt. Why? She whispered, eyes wet. You were never supposed to survive this. He opened one eye, cracked a smile. Guess I'm more stubborn than I look. She pulled him into her arms, not caring who saw. For the first time in her reign, she cried in public. That night in the medbay, the queen stayed at Ethan's side. He slept, healing slowly. She sat beside him, speaking softly into the dark. You passed a test that wasn't meant for you. And now, I owe you more than a wish. She took off her crown and placed it on the table. From this moment forward, I am not your queen. I am your equal. Somewhere in the outer edges of the Zarenth Empire, fleets shifted. War councils panicked. Their queen had changed. She was no longer ruling from above, but walking beside a human, and that meant only one thing. The galaxy was about to burn, or be reborn. A kingdom divided, the twin moons of Zarenth hung heavy in the sky like silent judges. From the balcony of the royal tower, Ethan Cole looked down on a city that once wanted him dead. Now, they didn't know what to do with him. Some bowed, some spit at his feet. But one truth burned through it all. The Queen chose him, and the galaxy felt it. Inside the palace war chamber, Queen Jiraiya stood before a council torn in two. One side, the royal loyalists, still believed in her. The other, the Iron Doctrine, claimed she had been corrupted by a human, by emotion, by weakness. Elder Vorth spoke first, his voice cold, sharp. You abandoned tradition. You bleed for a species beneath us. Now you dare return, with him at your side, expecting us to kneel? Jiraiya didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. I expect nothing, but I will no longer rule by fear. The throne isn't a weapon. It's a burden I choose to carry. With him beside me. Gasps. Outrage. One counselor slammed his fist on the table. You would crown a human prince? She didn't flinch. I would crown a partner. Later, Ethan found her standing alone in the Hall of Ancients, staring at murals of past rulers, gods, in armor, conquerors of stars. He walked up behind her, quiet, respectful. You okay? He asked. She didn't look at him. They want war. Against Earth. Against me. Against us. Then why not run again? She turned, her eyes tired but steady. Because running means I chose love out of fear, but staying means I chose love, despite fear. Ethan smiled faintly. You're braver than any soldier I've ever met. And you're more stubborn than any Zarenth I've ever ruled. They both laughed, quietly. But the moment didn't last. A message arrived. A rebellion had begun. The Iron Doctrine declared her unfit to rule. Ships turned against her. Half the empire split. Cities fell into chaos. Battles sparked across star systems. She had two choices. Crush them with overwhelming power, or step down, give up the throne, and live free. With Ethan. She gathered her. Guard. Prepare the escape vessel, only what we can carry. We leave tonight. Ethan stared at her. You're sure? She nodded. Let them keep their throne. I've already found something more powerful than a crown. They fled under moonlight. The royal flagship, Silent Flame, tore through the stars with Jiraiya and Ethan aboard. A few loyal guards, no armies, no empire. Just the future. In the ship's chamber, Ethan watched her remove the last piece of royal armor and drop it into space. Feels strange, she whispered, letting go of something I was told I couldn't live without. He moved closer. Feels like freedom. She looked at him, finally, fully, as just a woman, not a ruler, not a queen. Would you still have chosen me, she asked, if I wasn't powerful? I didn't fall for the queen, he said. I fell for the fire she tried to hide. They held each other as the stars spun around them. But peace didn't last long. One of the guards betrayed them. He sent coordinates to a rebel fleet. An ambush. As sirens screamed through the ship and explosions tore through the outer hull, Ethan pulled her behind cover. He was bleeding again. You have to leave, he said. Take the escape pod. No. Jiraiya, no. She grabbed him, face fierce. We survive together or we don't. They raced through the burning halls hand in hand while the galaxy hunted them down like fugitives. In that moment, for the first time in her life, Jiraiya wasn't a queen, a warrior, or a symbol. She was something much harder. She was in love. And the stars? They watched silently, knowing a new story was being written, one not carved in blood and power, but in sacrifice. Her final wish, the escape pod spun through the void, leaving behind the wreckage of the Queen's starship, silent flame, now a graveyard of metal and fire drifting above a dying moon. Inside, it was quiet, too quiet. Ethan Cole lay across the aisle. Pod's floor, his shirt soaked in blood. His breathing was shallow, his skin pale. Across from him, Jiraiya, no longer queen, no longer untouchable, held his hand with both of hers, whispering his name over and over. "Stay with me. Please." "Ethan, please," but his eyes were closed. His pulse was fading, and the bond between them, once a steady fire, was flickering like a candle in the wind. Hours earlier, during the ambush, Ethan had shielded her with his body. A plasma blast meant for her heart struck his side. He didn't cry out. He didn't stop running. Even when he collapsed at the loading ramp, he looked at her and smiled. "One more time. I save you." She hadn't even realized she was screaming until the doors closed behind them. Now, in the silence of deep space, her tears floated up, glowing like stars. She didn't know what to do. Her powers, once feared, across galaxies, could destroy armies, but they couldn't stop death, and that broke her more than anything ever had. She touched the crystal at her throat, an ancient artifact known only to the Zaranth bloodline. It pulsed faintly, a last resort. A one-time rite, the soul transfer. It allowed one Zaranth to transfer life force completely to another. The price, the giver would die. The AI voice spoke. "Warning. Procedure is irreversible. Consciousness and essence will be terminated upon execution." She stared at Ethan's face, his scars, his stubborn jaw, his blood on her hands. This human didn't just choose her. He changed her. He gave up everything. For her. And now, she could do the same. She leaned forward, her forehead touching his. "My people will never understand this," she whispered. "But they don't have to. This isn't for the galaxy. This is for us." She pressed the crystal into her chest. Light exploded from it, silver and white, like a star being born. Her body shook. The bond snapped tight, and slowly, painfully, her essence poured into him. Ethan gasped. His eyes flew open. He choked on breath, coughing, then groaned. "Jera." "Yeah?" No answer. He sat up and saw her, lying still, eyes closed, peaceful, like a warrior finally at rest. No, Jiraiya." He crawled to her, shaking her shoulders. "Come back, please, you can't do this, not for me." But she was already gone. Her last breath still lingered in the pod, her warmth still on his skin and in his chest. A second heartbeat. Hers. Ethan screamed. Not like a soldier. Like a man who lost the only person who ever saw him. Time passed. The pod drifted into the gravitational pull of an uncharted planet. Emergency landing systems activated. It fell, hard, through a thick atmosphere and crashed into a field of silver grass under 2 moons. Ethan stepped out, carrying her in his arms. He buried her beneath a glowing tree and marked the spot with the crown she had thrown away long ago. He didn't say goodbye, because something inside him whispered, "I'm not gone. I'm with you now." He built a shelter. He lit fires. He wrote in her language on the stones. And every night, when the stars lit the sky, he told her a story about Earth, about who he was and who he became, because she chose him. Somewhere far across the galaxy, rebel fleets crumbled. The legend spread of a queen who gave up her throne for a soldier and her soul for his life. The galaxy didn't understand it, but they remembered it, and they whispered her name. Not in fear but in love, Jiraiya. The queen who wished for nothing but was chosen anyway.